everybody, and welcome to the November SDMediaPros meeting. We're really glad that you're here. Tonight, we are going to talk about casting. As you know, actors are the heart of any project. And we've got Nancy Washburn, who is a talent agent here, along with D. Candace Paul, who is a casting director. And we've got lots of questions for them. And then we encourage you to send in your questions as well. Everything you need to know about actors and casting of actors, working with actors, paying actors, contracts for actors. We're going to cover it all. So just a quick note that we are an educational nonprofit. And so all the information provided is just for your educational use. And we do try to stay away from political topics. And we're going to start tonight with news you can use. We're going to get to the rest of the program in just a minute. But first, from what I'm going to call the SDMediaPros Worldwide News Headquarters, here's Mark Masonov. Mark, take it away.
Okay, well, if only I could have the building and the money for a worldwide news headquarters. I tell you, that would be quite something
Right?
else. But at least I do have this, in an abandoned warehouse I managed to turn into a set over my shoulder. So we do have that. And we also have this little news that you can use. We're going to go with that feature I showed you last month in a beta in Zoom, where it can shrink me and put me into the slides. And there I am. Dun, da, da, da. So you can resize yourself, move yourself around, and here I am. So we're going to live. I get to live in my slides. So here's our news that you can use for today, November 18th. We're going to start something soft. We're going to start light and easy here with looking good San Diego. And doing some of my research, I came across this site in here. It's a throwback for lights, camera, action, history of film and television production in San Diego. Now, it's geared towards the Channel 8's news stories that they did do. But they talk about some of the things that were made San Diego, put San Diego on the map, like Simon and Simon and the Stu Siegel stages. So all of those things are sort of covered. They have little news stories that they did that you can go back and look at. You might spot a friend or two as you go through it. So it's kind of a neat little thing that I encourage you to go take a look at. This is the link. If you take a picture of it, I moved myself out of the way a little bit if you want to go take a look at that. It's pretty big. You can also search for the throwback on Channel 8 and then the article on that. So it's kind of interesting, neat to reminisce about what we used to have a lot of production down here. And now from the squeaky wheel desk, this is interesting because the U.S. is going to start forgiving PPP loans after the borrowers complained. Now, if you got a PPP loan like I did, there's this big, you want to be forgiven for the loan. So the Small Business Administration is going to start doing this after complaints had been bogged down. You read into the article, since it launched the online portal in August, they received more than 96,000 applications, but none had been approved. So they're just sitting in limbo, 96,000 applications. So while they're sitting there, more than 100 trade groups, including the Bankers Association, the Bankers of America, are trying to urge lawmakers to have automatic forgiveness for under $150,000. So most of us, that probably fits. For a small business, for one or two man operation, that could be perfect for you. So keep your fingers crossed. I know the portals are starting to come out on the banks. They're encouraging you to visit them, start signing up for them, start getting your application going. But it may be all forgiven. We don't know, but stay tuned. It's just a typical thing. The government launches it, and of course, they can't quite get on top of all the requests. So here's hoping that they can get to that. Now, we've sprung a leak, and I know Jane had mentioned at the top of the program about not getting into politics, and we really aren't. We're maybe ducking our toe across it just a bit here. But Prop 22 passed in California, as you all know. That exempts Uber and Lyft from classifying drivers as employees. And it's a major win for the gig economy, according to CNN. Our voters have spoken on the Yes campaign to the preference to independent contractors. So 22 passed. But what does that really mean for AB5? Really not much, but the dam may be cracking a bit, according to CNBC. Independent contractors across the country might breathe a sigh of relief. The California voters sent a message to the state's legislators that AB 5, the law which was enacted to classify freelancers as employees, is widely unpopular. Other states, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York, Illinois, have been among those considering crafting similar legislation, and now they can see what those say. So if you want to look more into that, that's here. We don't know what that means. Obviously, 22 doesn't help our industry, but there may something may come of this. So keep your fingers crossed. That did come out, and we'll see how that works. And to stay vigilant. I know we talked about some of this last time around, and in another meeting we talked about COVID as well, but we stay vigilant because just recently Chicago Fire suspended production after positive COVID-19 tests, and the show's spin-off Chicago Med halted filming due to a positive COVID-19 test. So several members tested positive for the virus as the show's regular safety protocol, and filming season 9 has been paused for 14 days. Out of an abundance of caution in folks who are interacting with cast and crew. So please just be vigilant, wear your masks, follow your COVID compliance officer when you're on set, follow all the rules, because this does happen. It is rearing its head again, and your shoot could be suspended, or worse could happen. So be vigilant. Now we're talking about actors, so I did try to find some news about acting in general, and came across this news, which just broke is the wrong term, but explained a little bit more. Came across just last week. Hollywood has a disability. You see here Freddie Highmore, who stars in The Good Doctor, who plays an autistic doctor. And then the gentleman here from Peanut Butter Falcon. So it kind of shows both sides. And I mention this because the Me Too and the Black Lives Matter movements forced Hollywood and other artists to rethink their subject matter and casting practices, but despite an increased sensitivity to gender and race, those in disabled Americans are still waiting their national movement. And there's something called disability drag, which I was not aware of. Casting able-bodied actors in the roles of characters with disabilities have been hard to dislodge from the Oscar-worthy appeal. Since 47 out of 59 nominations for disabled characters, 27 won an award, almost 50% rate. So, and you know all the movies that they talk about, that able-bodied folks who are taking the roles of disabled folks. Rain Man, for instance, is one. My Left Foot is another one. Theory of Everything is one. So it's hard, but that is happening in Hollywood, and it continues. Typically, disabled characters, there are 4 types. There's the magical cripple, like Marvel's Daredevil character, the blind character, the evil cripple, say Mini-Me from Austin Powers, the inspirational cripple, and the redemptive cripple. And I mentioned this. These are the words used in the actual article. I know that's not politically correct language, but that is in the article. And strides are being made, as I mentioned, Peanut Butter Falcon, and if you watched Breaking Bad a few seasons ago, featured a disabled actor as well, but more complex stories are coming. So if you have an opportunity, as you working in your films and such, to cast disabled actors because your role calls for a disabled actor, do your best to do that. Okay, moving on now. Got 8 Ks there if you've counted, for those of you who are paying attention. I received this article link from Mr. Trober. TVs are likely to lead 8K content push, according to the SEMPTE 2020 panel that just finished their meeting. They're saying that when 8K distribution and technology is available, audiences are going to demand to take full advantage of it with the 8K TVs that are coming out. They're pricey. Still $3,000 or more for an 8K capable TV. But as Bruce Marco, the Senior Vice President of Post-Production Operations, mentioned at IMAX, skimping on resolution doesn't serve you downstream. Now, for what most of us do, 4K is fine because we still release in 1080. Shooting in 4K is great. But as you move up and you shoot films, 8K it seems to be gaining more traction. So just something to be aware of. And then finally, I wanted to mention this last week, but had too much news. I don't know if you've come across this young lady, Amy LaJoie. What you gonna do? But I highly encourage you to visit her. She knows a lot of this stuff, and we love it. So go to Google. You want to enter Amy LaJoie videos. Just type this in exactly as you see it here. And you're going to find a listing of all her very funny and spot-on takes on the stuff people across our industry say. And she really doesn't spare anybody. It's a great way to be entertained on a Zoom call. These videos are 4 minutes in length or such. She plays almost all the roles in there. She dresses up, disguises herself, and they're hysterical. They are funny. So really, I encourage you to go look at these. She's got them for ADs, producers, ACs, sound people, actors, costumers, makeup artists, PAs, grips. Very, very funny, very spot on because she's inside the industry. So I encourage you, you want to take a break, go look her up. Very funny stuff. And that, folks, is news you can use for November 18th, 2020. Jane, I believe it's back to you.
I believe so. Am I muted? Hopefully not. I am not. Well, thank you, Jeff, and hopefully no one will follow that link right now and watch her hysterically funny videos during our Zoom meeting tonight. We promise we're going to try to keep it moving and keep it interesting and keep you engaged. So thanks again for being here. Thank you, Mark. What a great combination of topics tonight. And Mark's news you can use. The links and information are always posted on our website on the resources page. So take a look for it there. And then a few selected things I'll post on our Facebook page. And Michael Wood will start posting some of those on our Instagram as well. So look for those and stay in touch with all that's happening. And if you come across a news item that you think that we should include, please send that to us. And you can find the addresses on our website. I won't read those out just now. So, but thanks again, Mark. Live from our world headquarters here somewhere in beautiful San Diego. Well, it looks like it's just about 6 o'clock. So I think I will kick off our traditional meeting, the November 2020, almost over, SDMediaPros meeting. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jane Hare. I'm the president of SDMediaPros, and we're so glad you're here with us tonight. We are going to be talking about casting and how important actors are to every one of our projects, be it film, television, commercials, industrials, and live theater, too. And we're going to talk about casting with a casting director, D. Candace Paul, and a talent agent, Nancy Washburn, both of whom are fixtures here in San Diego. And I'm very eager to hear everything that they have to say about the casting process, about how to get the right actors for your project, how to pay them, how to write contracts, do releases, all of the details. So we're glad you're here. Stick around for that. I just have a couple of announcements and a little bit of housekeeping. If you have a question during the meeting tonight, please put that down in the Q&A or the chat window at the bottom of the screen. And we're going to be hanging on to those. And then a little later in the meeting, once we get through the primary presentation, we'll be asking the questions. And if you're willing, we'd love to have you ask your question, because there's no way to sort of keep things moving than to have people involved. And we want to hear what's on your mind and build a bit of a conversation. So, but in the meantime, please keep yourself muted. And we're going to keep cameras on unless it seems like we've got an issue, in which case we'll ask you to turn your camera off. But for now, leave yourself on so we can see all your smiling faces in the audience. I want to take a quick second and say thank you to our board of directors. I'm going to bring up my list because I don't want to bring anybody, even though I know who they all are. Robin Martin is our vice president. He was called away tonight. Bob Unger is our CFO. He also was unable to attend. But here with us tonight, Christine Gatlin, our secretary, Jeff Trober, who is our webmaster, Kevin Marty, who is our membership chair, David Rains, who is our technology guru, Mark Masonov, who you just heard from in News You Can Use, Tom Kinnaman, who does everything behind the scenes and keeps this stream just flowing along and all of us looking and sounding great. Keith Methvin, who is our resident composer. We're going to have some music stings coming up from him in a future meeting. Rich Varvel, who got called away. and Michael Wood, who joined the board just less than 2 months ago. He is our newest member, and he's going to be managing our social media. So it's going to be fun to add some new engaging posts to Facebook and Instagram. Please follow us if you don't already, and react to our posts, answer our questions. We would love to hear from you. And speaking of that, we're going to have a survey that we will be sending out by email. And we're hoping that you'll take 10 minutes and tell us what you love about this organization, what else we can do, especially going into 2021 with all of the business challenges that are out there due to COVID. We want to know how we can provide the most value to you. So keep an eye open for the survey. And then one final note before we move into our program. December is always our holiday social. We've done it at Tom Ham's Lighthouse for as long as I've been a member of this organization, overlooking the bay and the city. And this year, it's just not going to be possible. So we are doing what we call virtually a holiday party. We are going to do a holiday party live via Zoom. We encourage you to decorate your Zoom space, whether it's practical with lights and ornaments or whatever you've got. Or if you want to do that electronically, we're going to have a little contest for that. A couple of other contests, including a Zoom around the room scavenger hunt. And we are putting together some prizes, which I'm just going to say are better than the average crapple. So you're going to want to join us for that evening. And prizes include the brand new, highly sought after SDMP t-shirt. And these are really nice. You are going to want one of these. So be sure to mark your calendar. Wednesday, December 16th at 6 o'clock will be our holiday party, virtually a holiday party. And now it's time to talk casting. As a board of director, a member of the board of directors, one of the roles that each of us plays is that we plan content for a meeting every month or once a year, twice a year. And this month, that job fell to Kevin Marty and David Rains. So thank you to Kevin and David for putting all the behind the scenes work in to plan this month's meeting. And I am going to turn it over to the two of them to moderate the questions, introduce our speakers, and take it away, Kevin and David.
Thank you very much, Jane. I don't know how many of you have worked with casting directors or casting agents before. Before I introduce them, I just want to say that from an actor standpoint, we always see it from a certain point of view, which is we want to get cast, but that's obviously not the only point of view. And so hopefully this particular meeting will be informative for people on the other side, why you should hire them and so forth. So let's get into that, and let's start by introducing our first guest, D. Candace Paul, otherwise known as Candace, who's originally from New York. She's been the casting director for Stu Siegel Productions, where she cast for Terriers for FX and the X-List for CBS, Veronica Mars for the CW, several telenovelas for Fox. Fox is my network. Cast a variety of pilots and movies of the week, including Flyby, and as an independent casting director and owner of Candace Casting. So welcome, Candace. Good to see you. How are you doing this evening?
I am very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And Kevin, could you introduce us to Nancy, please?
I would like to introduce Nancy Washburn. Nancy and I connected when she renewed her membership to San Diego Media Pros, and she asked about having a meeting about actors and casting directors and talent agents, because that is something we have not touched on in quite a while or ever. And I thought, what a great idea. So she and I spoke a couple times, or actually emailed a couple times. And Nancy is the president and founder of the Artist Management Agency, which is a full-service talent representative agency that has been in San Diego and in Orange County for many years. She represents on-camera and voiceover actors, episodic television, feature films, commercial, print, corporate videos, and infomercials. She works closely with Candace, and the two of them are just dynamos. And we are so lucky to have them both here for us tonight, because we don't know what we don't know, and they're going to fill us in on how to work with actors and how to hire them. And we are just honored to have you with us tonight. So thank you to both of you.
Hi, Nancy. So we can just jump right into it. First and foremost, to eliminate the misconception, Candace and Nancy, and I don't know which one of you wants to handle this question first. I'll let you two fight it out. What is a casting director as opposed to a talent agent? What do each of you do, and what do each of you not do that the other person covers?
Well, since my mute is off, I'll jump in. I'm a casting director. I facilitate the casting process. So productions get in touch with me. They send me their script, or they tell me their idea. Whether it's a commercial, a 30-second, commercials to me are 30-second movies, right? So whether it's a 30-second movie or a 2-hour movie, and I assess what talent they're looking for, and then I get in touch with the agents to figure out who we're going to bring in. A lot of people will say to me that or they ask for a casting agency. Casting agencies don't really exist, certainly not in San Diego. A casting director does not represent talent. Casting director reaches out to talent via agents, and sometimes I'm reaching out to people who are not represented because the call is for twin babies who are 15 days old. They don't have representation yet. So that's what I do. I facilitate the casting process. So my title is casting director. I don't cast and I don't direct, but that's okay.
All right, thank you. And
on the other side, Nancy, what is a talent agent and manager, and why should we work with a talent agent and manager?
Turn your
Nancy, you need to
microphone on.
unmute yourself.
Now
There you
can you
go.
hear me?
Yes.
Am I there? I'm there. Okay, cool. Sorry. Thought I was on. I've been both an agent and a manager. And my job under both entities is to facilitate directors, producers, and casting directors finding actors that are suitable for the roles that they are looking to hire. My main job is to help actors improve their career. Many of them don't know how to make selfies. They don't know how to audition. They don't know how to, and thank heavens Candace started teaching an audition class. They don't know the business end of it. And that for me is critical. So really what I am more than anything else is I'm a business manager for these people. I try to teach them how to handle their money. I try to teach them so that for two reasons. Number one, for taxes, and number two, so that they don't under-negotiate themselves. Actors are passionate about what they do, but they fail when it comes to asking for money. That's what an agent manager does. So that's I'm basically their business partner more than anything else. And my job entails a lot of entities, but I go to a lot of theater. I watch television forever. I listen to the radio because I handle also voiceover. So, and I work, thank heavens, very closely with Candace, bless her heart. She has been a wonderful casting director and has really helped this community blossom and actors to blossom. And one of the things that I love to see with actors is I love to see them move on. Go to La La Land, go to New York, go to Chicago, go to Atlanta. I love to I love to watch a film or watch a television commercial. Or, I mean, today I was watching something and I saw two of my actors that I represented for many, many years are in fresh new commercials. That's a thrill for me. So the idea is to help the actors achieve. Okay, I'll be quiet now.
Nancy spoke about business and money and all that. When production comes to me, it's one of two things. Either they absolutely know the budget or they absolutely don't. So when they know the budget, they come to me and they say, okay, this is what we have for the talent. It's going to be this. I'm talking commercial now, but also film. This is what we can pay per day. If it's commercial, this is what we have for usage. Or they come to me and they say, well, this is what we're looking for. What's that going to cost us? So I then will negotiate on behalf of the talent, which ends up being on behalf of the agencies. And I've worked with all the agencies in San Diego for a long time. So I'm aware of what is going to fly and what's not going to fly. So, and that's a relationship that we have. I turn down many projects because they call and they tell me what they want and then what they're going to spend. And I say, it's a great project. Congratulations. I'm not going to be able to work with you on it because I will not have a single agent who will say yes to that. So it's I'm vetting the project on a certain level. So because the agents know that if I'm coming to them with something, it's going to be a professional production and the kind of project they're going to want to work on.
So let's talk about that professionalism for a little bit. So there's two sides to this process. There's the production side and then there's the acting side. So let's start with the production side first. Let's say I'm, aside from being a narrative filmmaker, you also have commercial filmmaking and industrial filmmaking. So let's say I'm a business, I'm a local business, and I want to make an in-house video, and I'm just going to put my employees in there. Why should I employ a talent agent or a casting director in that sense? What's the benefit to me as opposed to just doing it myself?
To me, it's a difference of professionalism. I mean, I can look at a commercial in a heartbeat and tell that it's an owner or an owner's daughter or and in certain cases it works okay, but it's not smooth, it's not transitional. And it makes me, it doesn't work. It makes me insecure. I am a consumer. I may be an agent, but I'm a consumer. And I look at it and go, I don't know if I'm going to go into that store. Now, on the other hand, there are others that are mom and pop stores that works. So
I see it on TV film too. I call them favor roles. And my poor husband will be watching TV and you'll see it's just a few lines, but I'll always turn to my husband and go, ooh, that was a favor. It was someone's workout partner and it's the 22nd episode of the season, which is always the last episode. And they weren't renewed anyway. So let me say thank you to the person who's been the body double for the lead all this time, or let me say thank you to whomever. And you can always tell favor roles because they're not the same level of professionalism as everyone else. I'm not saying they're not professionals in the business sense, but when you have a really good talent, it takes the piece up to that level that you want to be at.
You have this kind of symbiotic relationship, but let me ask you this, Candace, would there ever be an incident where I, as an industrial business, would come just to you as opposed to Nancy? Obviously, there's a benefit to coming to Nancy as well, but let's just take this separately. Would there be a benefit for me coming just to you for casting my industrial video?
Sure. There are people that come to me they're looking for one role, and they're coming to me because I'm CSA, which is Casting Society of America, which all it means is that in theory, I know what I'm doing, because you have to have all sorts of requirements to become CSA. You don't sign up for it like a magazine subscription. So they come to me, they find me on the CSA website and they go, well, in theory, you know what you're doing. So do you have we're looking for this one person. And I say, yeah, I can find that person for you, but let me introduce you to Nancy. she's got a whole stable of people that are fantastic. The other side is someone comes to me and says, we need 2 roles, and they're not paying what I think Nancy's going to accept because it's internet only and they have a limited budget. So I will find them the talent, usually from people who are not represented. And I have a large stable of people who are not represented, mainly because I met them through theater. I do a lot of theater myself as a director, or as like Nancy, I go to a lot of theater. And it's a way of, they're starting small in the sense of this first opportunity in front of the camera. So I'm hopefully getting them ready to maybe be ready for Nancy, so that Nancy can really get them ready for the next step. So
I can get them ready for Candace.
And then get them ready for me. Right. So it's all, Nancy and I are very symbiotic, use that term again, in the sense that we like actors. We want to see them succeed. We're not interested in putting people down or not supporting them. We want them to be successful in their careers. So everyone has to start somewhere. And there's talent I work with that simply aren't ready for Nancy. So we'll do background work. And now I'm just vetting. When I give you a simple instruction, like send me your headshot, your 300 kilobyte headshot, and you send me your 10 megabyte headshot, I go, okay, I can't even have you as background. Because if you can't follow the one instruction I gave you, why would I want you on a set as background? Maybe you don't follow the instruction of the directions or the time to show up or the wardrobe to bring. I am vetting you left, right, and center, and you don't even realize it, because I'm looking at everything and making sure you follow directions and are acting in a business-like manner.
And actually, I do the same thing, but I do it in a little different way. I may take someone on with contingency, and because I have seen them perhaps in a play, or I have seen them in a couple of student reels, and I will rewrite. I have a casting director who tends to write very verbose breakdowns, 4 pages, single spaced.
Not me.
No, it is not Candace. A lot of, she's short, sweet, and to the point, which is what I need. But I will send this to the performer as is, just to test them to see what they read and what they don't read. Because then I know when my phone rings and they say, well, when does this due? Did you read the breakdown I sent you? It's in the second line. So there is a process of vetting. And that's part of it, to see if they can follow direction, because if they can't follow direction on a breakdown of something that I send them, that Candace perhaps may have sent me, or another casting director has sent me, they're not going to work.
I have a question on the production side, and I'm just, being for people out there that are just real newbies at this sort of thing, and they've been doing like student films, and they've been having their like your favorites type thing going on with the actors and stuff like that, and all of a sudden they have a script that is actually pretty good, they think, and they've done all the pre-production. When should they contact you, and should they contact Candace first, or they should contact you first, Nancy? They say, okay, because they say, I have this script and these are the people that I need. Well, when do you come into play, and how do you come into play, and how can you advise this poor producer that's doing the first one in his life?
I get you. I just comment on one thing. Forgive me for not trying to step on your feet, Candace, but she gets paid. She gets paid as a casting director. I don't get paid until the actor gets hired. So she probably is not going to work on that project for free. And the producer or director or the writer of the script doesn't have a budget, doesn't have money. I will work with them, because I do have youngsters who are beginning their careers that I am more than happy to work with them and help them and guide them, because they could end up being the next Stephen J. Cannell. You know, they could end up being Ken Keeble. Who knows? You know, you don't, just because it's a first time, give them a shot. And then I go to my actors and say, here's the deal. Here's a new project. I've read the script. I think it's a reasonably good script. And I think it would give you an opportunity to get footage for your reel to put online. I do that all the time. I work very closely with the universities, with their film and television departments for their graduate films.
Can I get you to clarify something you said earlier? You said you get paid when the actor gets hired. Is it when they get hired or when the actor gets paid?
Both.
Okay.
When the actor gets hired, he gets paid. When he gets paid, then I get paid.
Just wanted to make sure.
I don't get money up front, and I do not recommend any actors pay for play.
What do you mean by pay for play? I'm not quite
Pay
sure.
for play is a no-no. You've got a lot of things out there where people will say, well, you pay me $500 and I'll put you in and I'll work for you. No.
Oh.
No. That's a no-no.
It's essentially like paying for an interview.
Yeah, that's why we call it pay for play.
So,
and for me, when people hire me, when they know their budget, so they know, and also they know the scope of the project. Are you casting one talent? I'm working on something now that's dozens of talent.
Yeah.
So it's, the budget changes. Also, for commercial shoots, really for any shoot, it helps to know when the shoot date is. If you're like, well, we're still putting it together, we're not sure it's going to be spring, then I can't really do anything for you yet, because I could find you the most talented actors on the planet, and then you pay me the money that we've agreed upon, and then April comes and they're not available because it was months in advance. If you hire me to work on your project, you're going to compensate me for my time, whether your project shoots or not. So you're probably not going to bring me in until you know for certain that it's going to happen. Plus, I don't go to the agents unless I know for certain it's going to happen and I know what the shoot dates are. It can be approximate one day the week of the 11th through the 15th. We just don't know yet because locations aren't locked. We all understand locations. We get that. But I need to have some time frame. Otherwise, there's no point. The project I'm working on right now has a 10-day time frame. Okay, so I put it out there. I said it's going to be one day in those 10 days. So I just need to make sure they're not away. They're not out of town. I'm not asking anyone to clear their schedule, but I need to know that if they need to be available any of those days, they would be.
And then my end of it, after she's made those arrangements, my end of it's a crapshoot. She sends me the breakdown.
Yep.
I send her headshots and resumes, hope that she wants to meet with my clients, and hope that my client gets paid. I work for nothing until my client gets a paycheck, gets hired, and gets a paycheck.
And there have been many times where Nancy has submitted fantastic talent and none of them have booked the job.
They don't book. Yeah, they don't book.
What it does, though, it gives me an opportunity to see, because I watch every audition that ever comes in, if it's self-taped, and of course I see them in person one-on-one, and it gives me a really good idea of what they can handle. And I always give direction on set, whether it's what the movie calls for or not, because this is a new person to me, someone that Nancy has sent to me. So let me see what they can do. So it's always an information gathering session, whether they book or not, which ultimately ends up working to Nancy's benefit, because there have been times where I've said, oh, him, is he available? He's perfect for this. And she goes, yeah, he's available. And I go, great, let's do it. Because I've met him or her at other auditions.
I do have a question. Mark Masonov, do you want to ask Nancy your question?
Yeah, sure. Since we're chatting about the idea of we're still in that part about having actors. How do you decide who's going to join your stable of actors? You know, there are a number of agencies around, and there are different ones, and some cross. But how do you decide if someone comes to you and say, like me, hey, I wanna be an actor for you? What do you need to see before you will have someone who you think is going to work for you?
I'm going to make one correction because it's a word that I really, really abhor, and that is stable. I don't have a stable. I'm not representing horses. I'm representing very, very professional actors. So we'll sort of eliminate that little word right out the window. I look at a resume very, very carefully. Usually now, I mean, I've been doing this over 50 years. So I've seen a lot of plays. I've seen a lot of film. I've seen a lot of television. I can read a resume and tell in a heartbeat whether or not they worked for that director, whether or not they actually did do that film. I have signed actors who only have 3 things on their resume. But if it's something that's meaty, then I'll give them a shot. And I don't hesitate to send, for example, to Candace, somebody that I know can handle one line. But I will not send her somebody that can't handle one line. I look at the resume very carefully. I also look for people who have good theater training, and I look at their training. I want to know who they've studied under, how long they studied under. Have they done Second City, for example? Who have they studied improv with? So I scrutinize that piece of paper pretty carefully. And then I have a meeting. And this COVID thing has been very interesting. I've signed some new people, and interestingly enough, they booked. But I haven't met them in person. I have no idea whether they're other than what's on the paper, whether they're tall, they're short, they're fat, they're thin. I have no idea. We have done phone interviews. I just hope that my many years of experience in this industry have given me the stepping stones to be right on. I've made mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. I have signed on occasion somebody that just fell flat, and it is what it is.
On the scale of
does that answer your question, Mark?
Yeah, it does. Okay. I know there's a lot that goes into it, and different folks will have different approaches. But I was just curious how you make that decision. And it sounds like some of it's gut, because you sometimes you say you'll take a chance on somebody or a young kid.
Well, I don't hesitate. I also don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call somebody whose name is on that piece of paper and say, give me some feedback. Mm-hmm. You know, easy to work with, not easy to work with, knew their lines, took direction, didn't take direction. You know, that piece of paper, that resume is, and I say to any actor who when I do a showcase, I just say to actors, do not lie on your resume, because I'll nail you on it. I'll get you.
In the same vein with what Nancy just said about stable, she doesn't like stable. I don't like the word help. I get a lot of emails from actors saying, if I could help you out with any project, by all means, let me know. I'd love to, and I go, you're not doing me a favor. It's business. It's not, hey, Candace. It's dear Ms. Paul. And it's a business. I'm not asking for a CV, but if you're going to introduce yourself via email, which is how we introduce ourselves, I'm going to vet you based upon how you start that email. And when you look at it as you helping me out, no, we're working together. I don't have favors. I have opportunities, right? Every job is an opportunity. So I'm looking at those kind of those little words to help me get an indication of where you are in the career.
And if I can,
it is a business.
Yes.
It's a business. It's a creative business. It's an artistic business. but it's a business. That's my job. My job is to be certain that my clients don't go to Candace with a thing going, can I help you? I'd be happy to step in and do, no. It's a business.
Yes, David?
Well, I was going to say, in regards to that business, and I don't know if either one of you have had this experience or not. I know this from personal experience, but I think it applies to business all around. Address the person as they introduce themselves to you. Do not assume any sort of informality. I can't tell you how many times I've introduced myself as David in written correspondence, and they will reply, "Hey, Dave." And I'd be like, I don't know where you took that leap. It doesn't say that anywhere in my email or in my name. And this is, and I'm talking about professional correspondence.
And, I spell my name funky. You can see it on the bottom of my screen. Nancy is Nanci. And when someone the name of my company is Candace Casting. If you write me an email and you spell my name wrong, I'm already kind of over you because it was so easy to get it right. So, but it happens so much that at some point you just go, okay, whatever. Let me see what you got.
So I love it, but I've never gotten over it. I can't agree with you, Candace.
Okay.
To this day, it annoys me.
Yeah, it's easy. So easy to get it right.
Yeah. To narrow the previous question of, what does a producer need to do to come to you? Let me narrow that down a little further, which is I'm either a marketing agency or I'm in the marketing department of my company. I have a certain budget. I have to do this. Who do I come to and what do I say? Which one of you should I come to first? And what do I ask you?
What's the product? What's the product? Is it a commercial or is it a commercial? Is it a,
assume it's commercial.
Start with Candace.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of it has to do with how many people you're casting. If there's principals and background, if it's print and video, if it's one or the other, if it's union or non-union, right? These are all major questions. If there's a lot of talent, then you come to me because I'm going to not only reach out to Nancy, but I'll reach out to the other agents in town. I'll reach out to Orange County. I'll reach out to Los Angeles. I'll reach out to people who aren't represented, depending upon the scope of the job. If you have a very specific look that you're going for, the agents in San Diego may or may not have it. So I will reach out to others. If you're looking for a Caucasian couple in their 30s and that's it, you probably don't need me. You can just go straight to Nancy and she's got all sorts of people that can help, that she can help you with.
Talk to me about union versus non-union, why it's important to know the difference, what the benefit is to me, one versus the other.
You want to take that, Nance, or you want me to?
Oh, I'll let you handle that one.
Okay. Union versus non-union, everyone looks at it as money because, union's just going to cost so much more. And that's not always the case. It's a lot more paperwork. It is. It's really paperwork first. And if you've never worked on a union project, your first union project, you're going to be like, oh my God, there is so much paperwork.
Yeah,
it's overwhelming, but the talent is really different from union to non-union. It just is. So depending upon how important your project is in the sense of the scope, and if it's going to be around for 10 years, or if it's a political ad that's going to be around for 10 weeks, I think it comes down to money and time, but the difference is absolutely marked between the two.
And if I'm a producer and I have union talent and I have SAG talent, am I largely working with you to work that out or directly with SAG?
Well, you would come to me once you've taken care of everything and you know that you're doing a union shoot and you're filled out all your paperwork and you've dealt with all the finances, and then you come to me and you go, yeah, this is union. And then I go, great. And then I can contact Nancy, and then she has this whole stable, whole group of fantastic talent that I've known for a long time and will rock your socks off. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. First of all, I spelled both of your names wrong in email, so my acting career has been shot to hell before I even started.
Kevin Marty who?
It's M-A-R-T-I, I believe.
M-A-R-T-I. So my question is, first of all, what does the producer need to know about actors and working with actors? I think that's very important that, some producers have never really worked with real professional actors. And how should they work with them and how to communicate with them and make a production work smoothly? And do you help with that process? Or, is the producer left on his own? Or because we all want to make sure that the project runs smoothly and we're meeting their needs as well as we're meeting our needs. So
you just said the one word, the magic word, communication. You have to communicate with everybody. If you're dealing with Candace first, you have to communicate to her what your needs are. Everything down to the color of the buttons on the shirt. Okay? Same thing with me. I have a list of 9 questions. Who, what, where, when, how, why, how much, who's directing, and where's it airing? Those are critical, but those are communication things. If Candace doesn't have that information, she can't give it to me. And if she can't give it to me, then I can't give it to the actor and send you the right actors. Now you've hired the actor and you have to communicate with that actor as to, it's a come to meeting. Let's discuss the script. Let's talk about what you want that character to be. And Candace, jump in there because you've been a director and a producer.
Well, right. It's your director is the person who's going to know what they want from the character. It's also, I did a movie where it was a Greek diner. So the director said, we need a gentleman around 55, maybe a little girth, a bit of an accent would be great. If not, that's fine. And he's, a mustache, that kind of diner owner. Okay. Makes sense. Everybody knows what we're talking about, right? I brought in a Latina woman who was mid to late 40s, maybe 5 foot, and she was better than all the guys. So the producer and the director have an idea in their mind of what they're looking for. And I will bring in 10 guys that look like that. Close, right? But then I'm going to bring in somebody that you don't know, that you never thought of. And she booked the role because she was great and she's a phenomenal talent. And when I read the script for the diner owner, I said, ooh, she would be really good for this. I'm also looking at the arc of your piece and making sure that the hair colors make sense, that everybody isn't blonde and everyone isn't brunette or everyone isn't anything. And now I'm going to ask you, what is the look of this piece? What does the client want? I'm going to ask you a lot of leading questions so that I bring to you what you're looking for. And then I'm going to bring in some people that you weren't looking for. But you're going to come to me and let me know what the mood is of the piece, what the director is looking for from the talent. That all needs to come from you because Nancy or I can't possibly figure out what the piece is without you telling us that. Something I'm working on right now is for a pharmaceutical, and a lot of pharmaceuticals are aspirational, right? A lot of commercials are aspirational. When I do the casino shoots, they're aspirational. They're these beautiful men and women between 25 and 40, and the women are tall and leggy, and the men are handsome because people who run the casinos want you to feel like that's how you're going to feel when you walk into the casino. Okay, is that really who's in the casino?
No.
Once. Right. So, but that's my job, is to take in what you're looking for, and Nancy and I will find it, and the others.
And I've done that. It's called a ringer, and she'll give me what she wants, and then I just take a stab at it, and we'll send her a couple of ringers. I did that with the pilot for Simon and Simon, and I was told that they were looking specifically for the housekeeper who was a mamacita type, and I went, "Oh Lord." Marguerite just retired. Now what do I do? Well, her daughter was also an actress. And so I called Connie and I said, I want you no makeup, hair in it. She had long hair. I want your hair in a pigtail down your back. I mean, I did a whole stereotypical thing, not at all what they wanted. Bedroom slippers, house dress, the whole 9 yards. They booked her. So
to piggyback off of that, because it's always such an ongoing and sensitive ideal, is this idea of diversity and representation in casting. Is there anything that you both do to encourage that to producers that come forward, aside from the ringers that you've already discussed with us? Or is there something that producers should just know up front? And you've sort of hinted on that, but is there anything more that producers can be doing when they come to you to make sure that they are thinking about diverse representation?
They can be open-minded, and say, this is what we're thinking, so that if I say, well, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? Oh, actually, we hadn't. That's an interesting idea. I'm not saying I'm always right. I'm just going to put ideas forward because of the tenor of pieces today. I worked on a movie recently. There were 2 doctors and 2 nurses, and both doctors were men and both nurses were women. And I said, there are more women in medical school right now today than there are men. Why are these doctors old white men? It doesn't make any sense to me at all. And he said, oh, I just hadn't thought of it. It wasn't there was a lot of members of the BIPOC community throughout the film, but he said, I just hadn't thought of it. And I said, okay, great. Can we look at that? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So, there are some times where it has to be a certain look for one reason or another. But I think producers just need to have an open mind, because you're coming to me because I'm the expert. People are always wanting to tell me, oh, have you thought about? I've had DPs come to me with casting, have you thought about this or that? I never go to a DP with a shot list. I would never do that. I could, it wouldn't be good. It would be crayon on some tree bark. But, I would never do that to a DP. But everybody wants to tell me who I should cast, right? It comes with the territory.
Yeah. I do have a question. We talked about money just a little bit. And could you talk about paying talent? And is it good to use a payrolling company or no? Or what are your thoughts on that? And how should producers pay their talent once they get booked?
Well, under the circumstances, we've got AB5.
Right. With AB5, you have to put them on payroll as of now.
As of now. I mean, 22 was a start, not to get political. It was a start. But, if is it Kevin Kiley, I think, who is the new congressman or assemblyman who is trying to get AB5 overturned. So, it's tough, and you have to put that in your budget, because you now do need to use either a bookkeeper or an accountant or a payrolling service to pay these actors, whether they're extras or they're actors.
And I'm sure many of you on this stream are independent contractors and know exactly what we're talking about with AB5 and how it's all changed the industry. If it's a union project, then it's always on payroll.
It's an automatic.
Union will only let you do a union project through payroll.
If they're non-union, you still have to use payroll now with AB5.
Correct.
Okay.
And I had a question about contracts, because nobody reads them. And
I do.
yeah, I know, I was kidding. As far as both sides of the equation, because I know there's this idea that you can pull a contract template off of the web. Can you illustrate some of the dangers of that on both sides, both for the producer and the actor, and what each can do about it?
I think Nancy's about to blow up.
I cannot tell you how many times I have rewritten these templates because they're generic. The contract must be specific. It must be, you must be specific about the client, how it's being used, the period of time that you wish to use it, what the renewal is agreed to, what the compensation is, what the commission is that you are paying. What am I missing, Candace?
Everything. I mean, there's so many. There's a lot in contracts. Usage, if it's renewed, what's the additional percentage? If there's wardrobe and rates for wardrobe and on and on.
Yeah, the specific. It's the whole description of the entire job per actor. And you need to get it to the representation, or if you're dealing directly with Candace, you need to get it to her for preview. My clients are instructed not to sign anything until I have given a thumbs up on it.
What happens is producers come to me and say, we're going to do this for 6 months on internet only. And they give me a rate and I go, great. And then the talent gets on set and suddenly there's this contract that says all media in perpetuity. And it doesn't match because they took this template and just put in the name of the production. And I look at it and I go, this says all media. We didn't talk about that at all. We only talked about internet. Internet does not mean broadcast. Print does not mean billboard, right? Or point POS, point of sale. There's all these different terminologies for the usage of the image. And the contract has to match the usage of the image. And I need to know the usage of the image before I ever call the agent, because again, the rate needs to match the usage.
And I'll ask. I'll ask.
Speaking as an actor, I don't know how many actors we have watching right now. Don't assume that the contract you're presented is one you have to agree to. Negotiate the contract. And I apologize, I don't want to overstep on your guys' terms, but just speaking from my end, we've seen people give us these templates where, as actors, we're giving away our rights to everything. And a lot of actors will just go, well, I want to be in this, so I'll do that. Make sure you read that and make sure that if you're not okay with it, don't just necessarily walk away. Negotiate the contract. But if you're represented, you take a picture of it and you send it to your agent. Exactly. And the agent's job is to negotiate it. Talent should never talk about money or anything on set. I can hire 3 talent at 3 different rates. So that happens. So people shouldn't share a contract. But if you as an individual, I didn't mean to apply that at all. No. Right. But if you as an individual are looking at a contract and you go, ooh, I don't know, there's something about this that seems off, and you're represented, you take a picture right away. And even if there's nothing on the contract that's a problem, you still take a picture right away. You send it to your agent and say, just want to make sure you saw this, because the agent's going to see something that maybe you didn't realize was written in the contract. That's how you protect yourself, because once you sign it, you're kind of toast. You're toast.
So what's the difference between, well, I know what you talked about the contract, but what about releases? Is that
same thing? Contract release.
Does it go into the contract?
Well, it's the same thing. All what is entailed in a release is entailed in a contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know we had, well, let me just do one more question, because we had a final question about Comic-Con. Before we get to that, what do producers and actors need to know about the pandemic that has changed the process and how they can utilize the new process to their benefits?
Well, the positive, if we can find one, looking for silver linings, and it's a horrible thing that we're all waiting to go away, is that people are able to submit more now because they're doing it all from home. The negative of that is you have to know how to submit from home. A lot of the project I'm working on right now, I have people submitting and they're sending me documents that are files that I can't open, I can't download. They're not thinking of the end user. They're sending me something that I can open, but I'm the only one that can open it. Well, that's of no use to me because I have to be able to download it and put it in a cohesive program so I can send all the auditions off to the producer. So, thinking of the end user is hard, but you get an opportunity for self-submission. You are now, and Nancy and I really don't like self-submissions at the risk of speaking for Nancy, because you become the director and the lighting designer and the sound designer, and it's not good, but it is what it is, right? It's the pandemic. Hey, any work is work. So it's about being ready for it, having the right equipment. I have a video on how to self-submit that's going to be live in the next week or two, which I'm hoping eases my inbox. But you use it to your advantage, especially if there's. I just did a small internet commercial, and the individual who booked had to use a product in their home. So he happened to be in LA, but he could have been in Sheboygan. I wouldn't have cared. Right? They mailed him the product. He filmed it himself. They loved it. He kept the product and they were done. So there are some positives.
And I will say, and I hope this is appropriate for me to say, taking a class like Candace's for commercial and theatrical auditioning is going to be more beneficial than you can imagine, because it's more nerve-wracking than an actual audition, but not in a bad way, because you're going to get the immediate feedback. A lot of the times when actors do an audition, they walk away and they have no idea how it went. So when you go and take this class, you're going to get immediate feedback. The audition practice itself, Candace, why don't you just talk about that really quick? I'm going to give you an opportunity.
Oh, I'm enjoying what you have to say.
I think what you have to offer is valuable, not just to actors, but it's also good for the producers to know this side of it, to know why a trained actor is more to their benefit.
Well, and thank you, David. I appreciate that. I think a producer needs to know how to read a resume, when they see a headshot and resume, they need to know how to read a resume. And that doesn't come usually with producer school, right? There's a lot that a producer needs to learn about a talent when they walk in the room. The audition starts as soon as the door opens. And that's a lot of what I talk about in class. I'm very, I'd like to think that I'm charming, but I'm also kind of a hard ass, because it's a difficult business, and you're not going to succeed on looks alone or charm alone. That's a lot of hard work, and I love celebrating it when the talent gets stronger, even over the course of just a few weeks. And it's a heart and mind thing. People come to this business because they love the arts, and they did some theater in school, and they're excited about it. And I never want to see that enthusiasm die, but it needs to be an informed enthusiasm so it can last the long run.
Yeah,
I'm a fan. I am an absolute fan. I have audited both her classes, the commercial as well as the film and television. And I'm telling you, if I sign somebody who's new, have you had Candace's class? No, you will now.
She is simultaneously in that class the sweetest and most terrifying person you will encounter.
Yeah, but she's, she crosses her T's and dots her I's, David. I mean, She gives you, and what's really great is that actors who have not done well in an audition to begin with, they figure it out after having taken her class, and they book. I get crazy. I get excited. That's what it's all about. Your audition is so that you book.
Thank you both.
And that goes, and I said that for Candace, and yes, I do think Candace's class is valuable, but that just goes to training in general.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we have time for one more, if I'm not mistaken, Jane, before we go to the Q&A. And this is about Comic-Con. Why would I need to come to you if I am thinking of doing something at Comic-Con?
Well, producers come to me in all honesty, I think they come to me because I'm CSA and the producers are coming from, the film world, the on-camera world. So they figure I know all the on-camera talent and I'm going to be able to find them and they're going to be fabulous for Comic-Con. The reality is that most on-camera talent couldn't do Comic-Con. It is live, it is immersive, it is exhausting, and there's no cameras. This is all about, having a theater background. So people come to me because they think one thing and it ends up working out well because I know theater and I know there's a lot of crossover talent that Nancy and the other agents represent. But also I'm going to make sure I negotiate parking and lunches and overtime and all sorts of things that the talent would never negotiate. You wouldn't be in a position to negotiate that. And then the compensation, there's a percentage that goes to the agents and then you all get yours percentage. And it's a beautiful thing. But Comic-Con is one of the most difficult things to cast. And for the actors, it's rarely, it does not pay well, right? Because it's a cost center. There's no money made at Comic-Con. It's a marketing idea. So they don't have lots of money for any project I've ever worked on, but the talent loves it, especially if it's a good project.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much, Candace. Nancy, anything to add to that?
Yeah, the actors, the feedback that I've had from my actors in doing Comic-Con is that it's an opportunity for them to really do improv. And many times, even though it may be scripted, there may be input from the producers, there may be input from the director. The producer and the director say, okay, here's the nut, now run with it. And the actors love that.
Are you guys able to speak to actor safety at all in regards to these kinds of live immersive experiences?
Oh, yeah. I do that on any project. I want to know where you're working, what you're doing. I want to know all of that. I want to know what the dangers are, not dangers, and that can be Comic-Con, that can be doing something for Qualcomm. I've had people driving trucks, 18-wheelers. They don't have, I don't know of any of my actors who have 18-wheeler licenses, so yes. Yeah, that's another reason for having representation. There's another thing. I mean, for me, it's a checklist. And Candace, thank God, covers all this stuff. I have worked with casting directors who go, well, this is what I was given. I don't have a clue. Well, get a clue or I can't help you. I'm sorry.
Has this now changed somewhat with the safety issues with the pandemic and all the problems that they have?
Oh, yes. I am very I had an incident May where I was assured that protocols were going to be handled. And I said, fine. And I booked one of my wonderful actors. And after the shoot was over, she called me and she said, none of the protocols were followed. And I went, what? And this was a producer who's been around for a very, very long time, knows what the game is, knows. And I called him and I said, what's the deal? Why didn't you, why were people not wearing masks? Well, they were all checked. The crew was all checked before she ever walked on the set. I said, yeah, but you didn't check her. You don't know whether she was COVID positive or not. Duh. So that was my own lesson to learn. And so now again, I've got a 10th question to ask. I make absolutely certain that all protocols are followed on every shoot that I send my kids on.
It's not an option. It has nothing to do with personal beliefs. It has nothing to do with politics. It's just, this is the rule, period, dot. Also, when it comes to safety, I mean, I've had commercial auditions for youth where they're like, well, we want to know if he can do like any tricks on his mountain bike. So can you bring a mountain bike to the audition? And I go, yeah, I can arrange that as long as you bring an EMT.
Oh.
I'm not going to have somebody doing something physical at an audition, even though it's something the producer wants. And I'll do everything I can. Everything's possible with time and money, right? So if you want that, Mr. Producer or Ms. Producer, fantastic. Make sure there's an EMT on set. I'll tell you where I'm having the audition so we can make that happen. But I won't do things that are unsafe for anybody. Also, when that comes to, I do commercials where people are in swimsuits. And they have to come to the audition and get into their swimsuit and then have the audition and then get dressed again and leave. I'm very protective. I'm protective over anyone, male, female, young or old, when it comes to their personal safeties and their health safeties.
And at what point should an actor or anybody on the production, at what point should they come to you with a safety concern or potential safety concern?
We all have cell phones immediately.
Okay. All right. Thank you both. Oh, sorry, Candace, you were going to say something. I apologize.
No.
I think that wraps us up for the presentation. Jane, do you want to jump in here with your final thoughts? Thank you both. First of all, Candace and Nancy, thank you so much for taking your time out of your evening, especially with some of you who were on previous meetings right beforehand. So thank you for coming.
Well, I hope it was helpful.
Oh yeah,
I think it was. Well, let's find out in just a moment. I think we're gonna hear from our audience. So, Jane, you want to take it away?
We are going to hear from our audience because we're just a few minutes after 7. And Nancy and Candace, if you've got some time, we do have some audience questions.
Of course.
So Jeff has been kind of queuing those up. Jeff, are you ready? And if not,
yes, I am.
The question. All right, go ahead.
I have them all set. Okay. The first question comes from Kevin. Kevin, do you want to hop on here and ask your question that you had for Candace?
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you both for doing this. I appreciate it. So I was asking my question back when Candace was talking about whether you know your schedule or not, and you really want to know your budget and your schedule first so that I can make sure the actors are going to be in town. And I was just wondering what kind of lead time you usually like to have for a small production. Like, say, if I have my location booked only 4 weeks ahead of time, is that enough time to go to Candace and say, okay, this is what I need?
I've booked jobs on Monday that held auditions Wednesday, callbacks Thursday, and it's shot Friday. So anything is possible. Of course, there's a finite number of people that I'm going to be able to bring in that have that kind of flexibility. I've also worked on projects that have weeks and weeks in advance. So as soon as you're ready for me, I'm ready for you. The only thing is usually I would get a call saying, I'm waiting to be greenlit on this, or we should be about a week or 2 out. Can I pencil you in for auditions this week? That whatever dates you give me, it'll take a day or two, just because you want to make sure if I'm someone you're considering that my schedule is open for you. Right. So it's just putting that call in. But I can do a really great job with a lot of advance time, or I can do a pretty good job overnight.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we got another question here. This Time Ends had a question. So do you want to pop on here and share your question with our speakers? Is Time Ends still on the call here?
Still here?
Max.
Oh, there he is.
You have a question? Oh, he's busy.
Okay. Well, okay, we'll go back to him then. Okay, Jeffrey Lehman, you had a couple questions here. Do you want to share those with our speakers?
Yeah, I will. I wanted to, first of all, thank you for talking about safety. I gave a talk at the San Diego Filmmakers and then again 6 months ago here. And that's the first thing I talk about. And considering I've been producing a adventure travel series for 20 years and we've not had a single injury, I feel pretty happy about that. So, but I think it's an important thing for our entire industry to keep in the forefront of our mind, because it's so easy for people to get really hurt sometimes. So my first question is, How do you cast for sellability of a film? And I'm reading it, sorry, but it says, by that I mean hiring named actors and consideration of like social media influences, etc. Or do you just, I know from your side, probably you're only thinking about the talent, but as a producer, we're often, there's other things. Some of the best actors I know have never been on TV or film, So how do you take that into consideration?
Well, it's all about what you're selling. If you're looking for a name talent and you think the name talent is what's going to sell your film, that's a conversation to be had. But that's rarely anything that Nancy and I deal with, and we don't care at all about internet connections and social media, because we're not selling the individual. That individual is going to sell the toothpaste or be the actor in the film, and the script is the thing that sells the film, really, not the individual. I mean, we've all seen movies or have heard of movies that Brad Pitt was in that that wasn't very good and didn't do well. So there's a lot that has to come to it before how many followers you have.
And in today's world, you really need to talk to whoever the performer is. You need to talk to their business manager and their agent and their manager. And I mean, they come with a whole entourage before you even get to the studio.
Right.
And I'll follow up with my second question is, because I work in this stuff all the time. I have dragged my poor nephews and nieces and young cousins into acting classes. They've done a bunch of stuff at school and some stuff outside of school and stuff like that. There are a couple of them that are quite talented. What is the next, and they're all, one's 19 now, but the rest are younger. What's the next step to take them to get them to in somebody's office like you guys? YouTube.
For me, all you need to do is do a headshot. I don't need 15 shots. I just need one headshot. I just need to see, window to the soul. Okay. And a brief resume of what they have done and what they're, just because they're miniature doesn't mean that they don't have a resume. So do the resume and then mail it to me and I'll take a look at it. And if I think they're marketable, then, I'll ring you up. They will need work permits. State of California requires that. They have to have, work permits. They have to have Coogan accounts. Your 19-year-old does not. He's an adult or she. Right. If I'm interested, then we chat.
Perfect. Thank you.
For me, my Facebook page is Candace Casting, and there really is no way to get in front of me until there's a project that I'm working on that I need you. So if I'm looking for specific talent, I would post it. I go to the agents, I post it on Candace Casting, and then people who are right for it submit from there. But unlike Nancy, I don't accept submissions just as a matter of course, because I'm not an agent.
But that's why I do accept them, because that's how they get to her.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? I have one more little comment. I was the one that introduced you, Candace, to Ken Green for.
Yes, I know.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Anyways, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have some more questions here. Isabel, I'm sorry, my page skipped down and dropped your question down. So Isabel
Canzaneri?
Yes,
is that the background?
Yes. Sometimes we apply for a job and they ask us if we're willing to work as a background. So how do you see this? Does this hurt an actor to work as a background? I know that in small towns, like Kansas always say, that's kind of hurt a little bit, but how do you see this?
Well, I'll give my answer first, then Nance. my philosophy is people come and audition for a role, and they, usually it's live, and they've taken time out of their day. They've taken the day off of work. They've, done their hair and memorized the lines and do whatever at all they need to do, or I've studied improv for years. And for whatever reason, if you don't book the commercial, I'd much rather pull the background from people who are willing, because the producer has seen them and says, yeah, she's great. She's not great for this, but she is great for a background. And then at least I'm being able to hire you for some aspect of the project. I can always get people to be background. I'd much rather get the people who are who have invested in the project first. The two have nothing to do with anything for me. If you submit for principal and you audition for principal and you book principal, great. If you end up booking background, okay, fine. You're still being compensated. You're on the set. But I never look at somebody and say they will only ever be background. I don't. That doesn't enter my thought process at all. If they're not good background, I won't even hire them for background. I don't suddenly say, oh, they're not good background, but they're going to be an amazing principal. Like, that doesn't happen. Right.
Okay.
And I found some of the best principals through background casting, because I get to know them. And as Nancy and I keep saying, it's communication and it's business, and the way they respond and the way they're on time and the way they bring, and they're low maintenance, and I don't get any grief about them on set. I go, oh, good. This is somebody I want to work with again and again. So it's a great vetting process, once again. And also background, you're being compensated to be on a professional set. So one can only hope that you're learning something, and it's like a paid class. What do you think, Nance?
Well, for me, it depends on the project.
Yeah.
Because it depends on what you're going to get paid. Because I also take into consideration whether or not you're leaving your day job to accept an extra role. On the other hand, if it's a sizable project, there is the possibility that you could be upgraded. And I've had that happen many times. So you can start as an extra and get upgraded to a principal, and all of a sudden you've gone from $125 to $1,000. So, just I take into consideration what the project is and what's going to be required of you, and what it does to your day job. I will never ever, for my clients, accept an audition for them without speaking to them about it first.
I've had some background talent, more than one, surprisingly, tell me that they save up their sick days. So if there's a fun project that comes along, even though the compensation for the day is not what they earn in their day job, they're like, hey, I got paid for the day because I took a sick day. And then I got to have fun with my background friends, and I got to be in this really fun commercial. So they got paid twice for the day. So everyone has a different reason for doing background work. I figure if there's a job out there and an opportunity to connect, it's a good thing. And I can always get people to fill background. So I'd much rather work with someone who I know takes it seriously.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel.
Thank you, Isabel. And Jim Staler, you're next.
Yeah. Hi, friends. Thank you, ladies.
Hi.
Hey. I'm, long story short, thinking about doing more acting again. Did a lot of stuff, before the kids. I actually came across the narration from a video game that somebody put online that I did in the early 90s. And just some old TV stuff I did. What's the market for guys over 60, and what's the process of getting back in the game?
There's a market.
All right.
Definitely a market.
The hair's getting shorter. That's when I'm wearing a hat.
Okay. Yeah.
My weight isn't ideal,
No, actually, I mean, I get calls for everything from Santa Claus to
Done that.
I mean, I had actors that worked up until they were 95.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Headshot.
We all need grandfathers for grandfather roles.
Well, okay. I've got a late start. I still have a 14-year-old, but
Well, that's okay. But your casting person and your director doesn't know that.
that's true. My dad lived till he was 99, and I got some time left in me.
I love.
And a lot of paid time off days left on my day job. Thank you, Candace, for reminding me of that possibility. So headshot, I mean, do you want to see a 20-year-old demo tape of the fun, silly characters I used to do? Or, does that really make no sense? It's really got to be current. Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be current stuff.
But the resume can still have older.
The resume helps. The resume would help. You can do a resume, but to actually see the footage, no, that doesn't help me. But to see what your background has been, yeah, that would be very helpful. Sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'll take Candace's class. I think would be a good idea. Sounds like, David.
You will love it. You'll love that class.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Greg Lefebvre, you're up next. Greg's still here? Oh, there he is. Hey, Greg.
Audio.
Your audio is not on.
My little button did not work.
There you go.
Candace, I was booked as background on X-List a couple of times, and it was a wonderful experience. With AB5 now, are the various productions coming to you? Do these people form an LLC and then come to you? Is each production now an LLC, or are these people just becoming employers on their own, or is there a risk there?
I honestly don't know. As long as they're going through payroll, it's not something that I investigate. I just have to make sure they're done through payroll. And I probably shouldn't say this since it's being recorded, but not everybody puts talent on payroll. They should, but there are production companies that say, I'm hiring this guy for one day. It's $300. If they're going to come after me, they're going to come after me. So it's, that's a risk the producer takes. I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying that, not everybody is suddenly going to a payroll service, but that is the way, how AB5 reads, is that anyone who's, being paid for the day needs to go through payroll.
And you can become an independent contractor as long as you have a fictitious name and you have a business license and you have a federal ID number. You don't need to form an LLC. Those three entities work.
So I'm going to jump in here. It can be a little more complicated than that. And we tend to want to err on the side of safety and legalities. So I'm just going to say, a cautionary note that there are a lot of ambiguities. So please talk to your attorney or your accountant to just make sure you don't get yourself or anyone else in hot water. We're all in this together and trying to protect one another. Which
I did before I did any of that, because I dropped 2 of my corporations. So, and I'm safe. So.
Okay. So I have a question. Actually, I'm just going to jump in here, Jeff, if that's all right, since
sure, you're on the list.
I'm curious about the value of the 4 points and the 48-hour film festivals, since a lot of younger filmmakers take part in those. It sounds like, Candace, you don't necessarily look for talent, but I'm wondering if you watch those. And I'm wondering, Nancy, the same. Do you watch those? What value do you see? And what are you looking for when you watch that type of project?
I do watch. Well, I'm looking for skill. I'm looking for skill. I'm looking for communication. I'm looking for improvisational skills. I'm looking for comedic skill, if that is appropriate. That's my job. That's what I do. I mean, I'm overload on film festivals and 48-hour project and plays, and it's what I'm supposed to do.
I'll watch some of the 48 hours if they're like in a Facebook feed. post that someone has said, oh, you should watch this, or if you get a chance, watch my 48-hour. But even if I never see it, any opportunity to practice is a good thing. And anyone, it's the people who have never been in front of a camera who go, oh my gosh, I can't wait. I think it's going to be so great. I'm really looking forward to it. And then they get on set and they, as background, and go, oh my God, I was on set for 12 hours and not sure they did anything, right? But of course they did. They shot the whole commercial. So I think any knowledge that helps you understand what a real set is like, whether it's union or non-union, what goes into creating everything that project entails is a good thing. So I'm all about the film festivals and the 48-hour film festival. It's all good.
Very good to know. Thank you. Jeff, any other questions?
Yes, we have 3 more.
Okay.
The next one up is Dan. So go ahead, Dan. You're on mute.
Microphone.
Dan Cheatham.
There we go. There he is. There, I just unmuted you. Well, no, it's not unmuting. There you go.
Okay. All right. So I just lost the picture, but whatever. Quick question about the Coogan account. For setting up a Coogan account for younger actors.
Mm-hmm.
I've run paperwork for both SAG and for non-union as an assistant director on too many sets now. But I've never actually run across whatever paperwork's necessary to give to the actor to go to the bank to set it up. And I was just at my own bank and I asked, what would it take to set up a Coogan account, right? And they said, oh, the actors and the parents come with paperwork that we need at the bank to set this up. And I said, who issues that paperwork? And he didn't know. So I'm asking, who issues that paperwork to do that?
The bank. The financial institutions supply the document to open the Coogan account.
Right, but the first production has to send a letter to the parent, the agent, to the parent, saying that the talent has been hired, because most banks most banks won't actually open a Coogan until you have proof of hire.
Yeah, so they will not arbitrarily open up a Coogan account just because you ask for it. Yeah.
So whenever I work with youth talent, if they don't have a Coogan account, I get a letter, it has to be on production letterhead, saying that Sue Smith has been hired to work on X day as part of X production, and it's signed off. The parent then takes that to the bank to open up a Coogan account. Now, there are times that, a youth gets hired Wednesday afternoon and the shoot is Thursday. Right. And you simply don't have the ability to go to the bank and start setting up accounts. I believe it's 48 hours after the shoot has wrapped. The account has to be set up by then, so that production can then get the Coogan number and get the 15% and blah, blah, blah.
So the production, just a simple letter stating this child will be hired for this production under these conditions, and they will be paid.
No, you don't need any of that. This child has been hired for this production and works on this date. Thank you so much. As long as it's on production letterhead, and then whoever signs off, as long as there's a phone number. So if the bank has any questions.
Do you expect the line producer to sign off on something like that, or the producer, or the who exactly?
I don't care, and I guarantee you the bank doesn't know. Right? They just want proof from production that the talent has been hired.
Right.
Can also be somebody from accounting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions here. The last 2 that are in the queue here. Megan, you've been waiting. Your turn is up.
Hi. I was wondering, because I'm an actor, but I live in Illinois right now, and I'm planning on moving to California, and I've studied acting. I got my bachelor's, but I was wondering if I should try and like build my reel up here before moving, or if that's something that I can do once I move to California.
Where are you from? Where are you moving from?
I'm about an hour away from Chicago.
Any opportunity for work,
Okay.
grab any opportunity. Yeah. Wouldn't you say, Nance? I mean, we don't care where the clip is from.
Oh, no, I don't care where it's from, but she's in an area that is an opportunity to work and to build her reel, which is terrific.
Yeah, this is not an industry that you wait for. Well, let me wait till I get there to do anything, or let me wait till I'm of this age, or let me wait till my hair grows a little longer, or let me wait until, right? You cannot wait, because this industry will just
It'll pass you by. It'll pass you by.
Yep.
Okay.
So it sounds like you need to start applying for some roles in Chicago and get your reel.
Absolutely. And it's a big market. It's a big market.
And yes, it is.
And you've got surrounding areas.
There's a number of
you also have
network and
you have surrounding areas that have wonderful universities that have fabulous film and television departments where you can do graduate films. The key with doing graduate films is that you've got to stay on that graduate student to get your copy, because once they've left the university, you'll never see it. But yeah, you're in a great area.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, hon. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, let us know when you get here so you can attend our meetings in person when we're able to go back to that next year.
But well, how nice that she got in. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeff, it sounded like one more.
Yeah, one more. Our final question, and time ends. You had a question for our presenters?
Actually, she answered my question when I asked it, but I do have a question. Forgive the noise in the background. You know how you guys are saying that you need accounts, they need to be on payroll. Does that also, is that required for student films and low budget films as producers? Like, let's say if you're a producer and you help a student film out, do you need to put actors and actresses or talent on payroll in that case?
The way the law is written is anyone who's receiving compensation.
Okay. Okay. And that includes that also includes crew as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Except when it's business to business. So like I can be 1099'd because you don't tell me when to show up. You don't tell me what to wear. You don't tell me what to leave. I'm never in your space, right? I'm completely separate from what you do. Unless if you have a casting director as part of your crew, as your compensated crew, then I'm not business to business. But when Colgate calls me and hires a production company for toothpaste, they don't have a casting director as part of Colgate, right? And I'm over here doing my own thing. So there are some of us that can be business to business, but crew, talent, AB5.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, I think that's all of the questions that we have, and we are actually at 7:29. So this is a perfect time to say thank you to Candace. Thank you to Nancy. This has been such a helpful conversation. I think we're going to get a lot of hits on our YouTube site with people either rewatching this to pick up some details they missed or telling their production and actor friends about all of the great insights. So thank you very much to both of you for your time tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kevin for...
She froze up.
Oh, she froze.
We would love to share some resource contact information and websites. And am I frozen?
You were for a bit. No, you're not frozen anymore, but you were.
Oh, I'm back. Okay, so before I am frozen for good at 7:31, put December 16 on your calendar for our December meeting. And Nancy, Candace, feel free to join us for that if you'd like to. Otherwise, we'll see all of you then. And thank you so much for joining us this evening. Have a good night.
Thank you for having me.